The shuttle bay doors hissed open, releasing a thin fog of coolant vapor into the docking corridor of Station Meridian. Tyler Grant stepped through with a single worn duffel bag slung over his shoulder. Around him, cadets from a dozen different species moved in organized clusters, their families seeing them off with elaborate ceremonies. Some species sang harmonic farewells. Others performed ritual gestures with multiple limbs that humans could never replicate. Tyler walked alone. The Valerian Combat Academy accepted only the best warriors from across the galaxy. Every year, thousands applied. Perhaps 300 were chosen. Tyler had received his acceptance notice 3 weeks ago, transmitted through several encrypted channels before reaching his small apartment on the human colony world of New Perth. He had not told anyone he was leaving. The registration hall stretched 5 stories high, carved from polished stone that reflected the afternoon light filtering through massive windows. Behind elevated desks sat administrators from various species, processing the incoming cadets with practiced efficiency. Tyler joined the shortest line, waiting behind a young Karathi whose scales shimmered nervously between blue and green. Name and species, the administrator said without looking up. She was Trilaxian, with 6 eyes arranged in a semicircle across her face. 3 of them focused on her data tablet while the other 3 scanned Tyler. Tyler Grant. Human. All 6 eyes turned toward him. Human, she repeated as if confirming something unusual. Her fingers moved across the tablet. We have had only 12 human students in the Academy's 300-year history. Are you certain you understand the physical requirements? Tyler had heard this question before in various forms. I understand. Very well. Dormitory assignment is Section 7, Room 42. Your blade training begins tomorrow at dawn. Instructor Krelvan does not tolerate lateness. She handed him a small crystal chip. Your identification and access credential. Do not lose it. The dormitory was smaller than Tyler expected. A sleeping platform extended from one wall, designed for a body roughly his size. A storage locker sat beneath it. A single window looked out over the Academy's training grounds, where he could see various species engaged in combat exercises. 2 Dravik warriors, each standing nearly 3 meters tall, practiced with energy staffs that crackled with blue light. A group of Karathi moved through synchronized blade forms, their movements so perfectly matched they seemed like one organism with many bodies. Tyler unpacked his few belongings. 2 spare uniforms. Basic hygiene supplies. A small data pad containing photos he rarely looked at anymore. And wrapped carefully in cloth at the bottom of his bag, the blade. He unwrapped it slowly. The metal was dark, almost black, with a slight curve to its single edge. The handle was simple, wrapped in worn leather that had molded to the grip of its previous owner. Along the flat of the blade, markings had been etched deep into the metal. They were not decorative. Each one represented something specific. A campaign. A battle. A war. Tyler hung the blade on the wall mount above his sleeping platform. Tomorrow he would carry it to training. Tonight, he slept with the dreamless sleep of someone who had learned long ago not to dwell on the past. Dawn came early at the Academy. Tyler dressed in the standard training uniform, a simple gray outfit designed to accommodate various body types. He strapped the blade to his back and made his way to the training hall. The hall was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. The floor was covered in a material that absorbed impact, protecting students during falls. Weapon racks lined the walls, filled with training implements from cultures across the galaxy. At the center of the hall stood Instructor Krelvan. He was the Sien, a species known throughout the galaxy for producing exceptional warriors. 4 arms extended from his broad torso, each one thick with muscle. His skin was a deep gray, marked with scars that told the story of centuries in combat. 2 additional eyes sat on short stalks above his head, giving him a field of vision that covered nearly every angle. Around him, cadets were gathering. Tyler counted 43 students, representing at least 15 different species. He was the only human. Form ranks, Krelvan's voice carried across the hall without effort. The cadets moved quickly, arranging themselves in 3 neat rows. Tyler took a position in the back. Krelvan walked along the rows, his main eyes studying each student while his stalk eyes scanned the group for any disorder. You are here because someone decided you might become warriors. I will determine if that someone was a fool. He paused in front of a Dravik cadet who stood head and shoulders above the others. Strength is common in this galaxy. He moved to a Karathi whose scales shifted through multiple colors. Speed is unremarkable. He stopped before Tyler. 4 eyes examined him from different angles. And humans are fragile creatures barely worthy of notice. Tyler met his gaze but said nothing. Draw your weapons, Krelvan commanded, moving back to the center of the hall. Today you will demonstrate the basic guard positions of your people's combat traditions. I will evaluate your foundational training. The sound of blades leaving sheaths filled the hall. Energy weapons hummed to life. Molecular-edged swords caught the light. Tyler drew his blade from the sheath on his back. The dark metal seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Krelvan began calling on students one by one. Each moved to the center and demonstrated their opening stance, their defensive positions, their basic strikes. The instructor offered brief commentary on each, usually pointing out flaws in form or balance. Tyler watched, learning what he could about his fellow students. The Dravik favored power over precision. The Karathi moved with beautiful coordination but sacrificed individual unpredictability. A Ventari student demonstrated a whirling defensive style that seemed almost impossible to penetrate. Human, Krelvan called. Step forward. Tyler moved to the center of the hall. 42 pairs of eyes watched him, belonging to students who likely wondered why a human had been accepted at all. Krelvan approached, his main eyes studying Tyler's stance. Then his stalk eyes focused downward, examining the blade. The instructor froze mid-step. One of his four hands reached out, not threateningly, but with the careful gesture of someone handling something unexpected. Your blade, he said quietly. Where did you acquire it? It was my instructor's, Tyler replied. Krelvan's stalk eyes moved along the markings etched into the metal. His expression, difficult to read on a Visyen face, seemed to shift into something Tyler could not identify. Recognition perhaps. Or disbelief. These markings, the instructor said, his voice lower now. The Omega campaigns. The Breach Wars. The Sentinel conflicts. He looked up at Tyler, all four eyes focused on the human's face. These are wars fought before your species even left your home world. How does a human carry a blade marked with galactic history? The training hall had gone completely silent. Tyler stood in the center of the training hall, aware that every student had stopped their own practice to watch. Krelvan circled him slowly, two eyes on Tyler's face while the other two remained fixed on the blade. I will ask again, the instructor said. How does a human possess a weapon marked with campaigns that ended before your people achieved faster than light travel? My instructor gave it to me, Tyler said simply. Before he died. And who was your instructor? A human named Samuel Webb. He served in those conflicts. Krelvan's four arms crossed in a gesture that Tyler recognized as deep skepticism. Impossible. The Omega campaigns occurred 70 years ago. The human lifespan does not allow for someone to have fought then and trained you recently. Samuel was 89 when he passed, Tyler said. He joined the Omega campaigns when he was 19. Humans were not officially recognized by the Galactic Council then, but we were present. A murmur rippled through the assembled cadets. The Dravik student laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Humans in the Omega campaigns? That war was fought by the greatest warrior species in the galaxy. Why would anyone accept human help? Krelvan raised one hand, silencing the hall instantly. His stalk eyes continued examining the blade markings with intense focus. There were rumors, he said quietly, almost to himself. Stories of small units of unknown fighters who appeared in the worst battles. They wore no identifying marks. They claimed no allegiance. We called them the Quiet Ones. Tyler said nothing. I was young during the Omega campaigns, Krelvan continued. Barely a century old. I fought in the Breach Wars. I saw things there that should have been impossible. His eyes focused back on Tyler. Show me your opening stance. Tyler shifted his weight, bringing the blade up in a two-handed grip. His feet spread to shoulder width. The angle of the blade positioned precisely 45 degrees from vertical. Krelvan's breathing changed. That is the Third River stance. From the Kethran combat tradition. They developed it during the Sentinel conflicts to counter opponents with superior reach. He moved closer. Show me your defensive response to an overhead strike. Tyler moved smoothly, stepping forward and to the left while bringing his blade up to redirect an imaginary attack. The motion was efficient, wasting no energy. Impossible, one of the Karathi students whispered. That is the shifting water defense. Our people developed that technique 8 decades ago during the border skirmishes. Krelvan's four hands had uncrossed. All four eyes now focused entirely on Tyler. Demonstrate a counter to a four-armed opponent. This was a test. Krelvan wanted to see if Tyler actually understood combat theory or had simply memorized movements. Tyler took a breath and moved through a sequence. He ducked low, blade sweeping in an arc that would target leg joints. Then he rolled forward, coming up inside the reach of an imaginary four-armed attacker, his blade positioned to strike upward into an undefended torso. The Xian instructor stepped backward. That technique. I saw it used against my own people during the Breach Wars. A single fighter held a corridor against 12 Xian soldiers for nearly an hour. We never discovered who they were. His voice had lost its harsh edge. You were taught by someone who was there. Samuel served in all 3 conflicts you mentioned, Tyler said, and 4 others that followed. He did not speak about them often, but he trained me in what he learned. Show me the spiral guard, Krelvan commanded. Tyler shifted his stance, blade moving through a defensive pattern that created overlapping circles of protection. It was a technique designed to defend against multiple attackers from different angles. The Dravik developed that during the Omega campaigns, the tall Dravik student said, his earlier mockery replaced with confusion. How does a human know our ancestral techniques? Krelvan walked to a weapon rack and selected a training staff. He activated it and both ends began to glow with soft blue light. I will attack you slowly. Respond as your instructor taught you. The first strike came from Tyler's left, a sweeping blow aimed at his midsection. Tyler stepped into the attack, deflecting it with the flat of his blade while positioning himself for a counter-strike. Krelvan attacked again, this time from above. Tyler moved differently, using a rolling block that sent the staff sliding past his shoulder. Ventari technique, someone called from the watching cadets. Krelvan increased his speed slightly. The staff blurred through the air in complex patterns that would overwhelm most first-year students. Tyler responded to each attack with a different defensive style. He used Kethran footwork to create distance, Karathi blade angles to redirect force, the Xian timing to exploit gaps between strikes. Each response came from a different warrior tradition, from a different species, from a different war. The instructor stopped suddenly, lowering his staff. He was breathing heavily despite his superior physiology. Enough. He turned to address the entire hall. What you have witnessed is something that should not exist. This human moves with knowledge from a dozen different combat traditions. Some of these techniques were developed in wars before his species had even met ours. Tyler lowered his blade, returning to a neutral stance. Krelvan approached him again, this time with what might have been respect in his posture. I need the truth now. All of it. How did humans learn these techniques? Why would your people fight in our wars? What was Samuel Webb doing in the Omega campaigns? The training hall remained silent. Tyler could feel the weight of dozens of eyes on him. He had known this moment would come eventually. Samuel had warned him that carrying the blade would invite questions he could not avoid. Humans have a saying, Tyler began. We do not start the fights but we finish them. When the Omega campaigns began, several human merchant ships witnessed the opening attacks. The victims were civilians. We saw families being slaughtered. Children being killed. He paused. So some of us stayed. We fought alongside whoever would accept our help. We did not ask for payment. We did not ask for recognition. We just fought. For 70 years? A Karathi student asked. Your people have been fighting our wars for 70 years without anyone knowing? Not everyone, Tyler said. Small groups. Volunteers. We serve quietly, learn what we can, and go home when the war ends. Samuel served in 6 major conflicts across 4 decades. He was not alone. There have been others. Krelvan's 4 hands gripped his staff tightly. The quiet ones. The rumors were true. He looked at Tyler with new understanding. Your species has been absorbing our combat knowledge, learning from every war, every tradition, every technique. Tyler nodded. Samuel said that humans survive by adapting. We learn from everyone we meet. We honor every warrior path we walk beside. The instructor was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke to the entire hall. This human will demonstrate each technique I showed you today. Watch carefully. You are witnessing something the galaxy has never acknowledged. The proof that Earth's warriors have been among us all along. The demonstration lasted 3 hours. Krelvan called out techniques from various conflicts, and Tyler performed each one with practiced precision. The cadets watched in stunned silence as a human, a species they had dismissed as weak and insignificant, moved through combat forms that belonged to their own people's most sacred martial traditions. When the session finally ended, Krelvan dismissed the other students but ordered Tyler to remain. The training hall emptied slowly, cadets whispering among themselves as they left. The Dravik student who had laughed earlier now watched Tyler with something that looked like grudging respect. Once they were alone, Krelvan deactivated his training staff and set it aside. He gestured for Tyler to sit on one of the meditation platforms that ringed the hall. The instructor lowered himself onto another platform, his forearms resting on his knees. "Tell me about Samuel Webb," Krelvan said. His voice had lost its harsh commanding tone. "Tell me everything." Tyler set his blade across his lap, running his fingers along the markings etched into the metal. Samuel was born on Earth in the year 2347. When he was 19, he worked on a trading vessel called the Northern Star. They were making a routine cargo run to the outer colonies when they received a distress signal. "The beginning of the Omega campaigns?" Krelvan said quietly. "Yes." The distress signal came from a civilian station. A Thesian family station. When the Northern Star arrived, they found it under attack by Kethran raiders. The station's defenses were failing. Hundreds of families were trapped inside. Tyler paused, remembering how Samuel's voice had shaken when telling this story. The Northern Star was a cargo ship. It had no weapons. But Samuel and 15 other crew members suited up, grabbed whatever tools they could use as weapons, and boarded the station through a damaged airlock. Krelvan's stock eyes moved independently, a sign of deep thought among his species. 16 humans with improvised weapons against trained Kethran raiders. That was suicide. 11 of them died, Tyler said. But they held a corridor long enough for the station's families to evacuate to the protected core. When the Sien military ships finally arrived, they found 5 humans still fighting. Samuel was one of them. He had a piece of metal piping in his hands and 3 dead Kethran at his feet. The instructor was silent for a long moment. "I remember hearing about that incident." The official report said the station's security force held the line. There was no mention of humans. Samuel said the Sien commander offered to include them in the report, but the human survivors refused. They said they were just doing what anyone would do. They went back to their ship and continued their cargo run. Tyler touched one of the markings on the blade. But the Sien commander remembered. 3 months later, when the Omega campaigns were intensifying, he sent a message to the Northern Star. He asked if any humans would be willing to serve as advisors. He said human unpredictability might be useful. And Samuel volunteered. He did. So did 12 others from various human ships in the sector. They were assigned to the Sien units as tactical consultants. The galaxy did not officially recognize human intelligence at that time, so their presence was kept quiet. They wore no identifying marks. They carried no documentation. If they died, they simply disappeared. Krelvan stood and walked to the nearest window. Outside, the twin suns of Valor Prime were setting, casting orange light across the training grounds. The quiet ones. I saw them 3 times during my service in the Breach Wars. They appeared in battles where defeat seemed certain. They fought with a desperation that our warrior species had forgotten. We fight for honor, for glory, for our people's reputation. But humans fought like every battle was personal. Because it was personal, Tyler said. Samuel told me that humans cannot watch innocent people suffer without feeling it in their bones. We are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest or the smartest. But we cannot walk away from injustice. It goes against something fundamental in our nature. The instructor turned back to face Tyler. "The blade. Tell me how you received it." Tyler lifted the weapon, holding it horizontally so the markings caught the fading light. Samuel served in 6 major conflicts over 42 years. He fought alongside the Sien forces, Karathi units, Dravik battalions and others. Each time he learned their techniques. He studied their martial traditions. He absorbed their combat philosophy. He pointed to the first marking near the handle. This symbol represents the Omega campaigns. A Thesian armorer made it for him after the final battle at Kelvin Station. "I was at Kelvin Station," Krelvan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Kethran had breached our inner defenses. We were falling back to the command center, ready to trigger the self-destruct rather than let them take the station. Then someone held the primary corridor. Just one fighter. They moved like nothing I had ever seen, using our own techniques against us, using Kethran tactics against Kethran warriors. They bought us enough time to rally and counterattack." "Samuel lost his left eye at Kelvin Station," Tyler said. "He said it was worth it." Krelvan's 4 hands clenched into fists. "That was him? The fighter in the corridor was your Samuel Webb?" He never spoke about it with pride. He just said he did what needed to be done. Tyler pointed to the second marking. "This is from the Breach Wars. The Ventari awarded him this after the defense of their colony world. He spent 3 years learning their spiral techniques. One by one, Tyler explained each marking. Each symbol represented years of service, battles fought, and warrior traditions learned. The blade was not just a weapon. It was a record of human presence in galactic conflicts, a presence that had been deliberately kept secret. When Samuel got sick, he knew he did not have much time left, Tyler continued. He called me to his bedside and gave me this blade. He said humanity's time of serving quietly was ending. He said the galaxy needed to know that we had been there, fighting beside them, learning from them, honoring their warrior paths. Why you? Krelvan asked. Why did he choose you to carry this burden? Because I am young enough to make the galaxy listen and old enough to understand what it means. Samuel trained me from the age of 12. He taught me everything he learned across 4 decades of war. Every technique, every philosophy, every lesson purchased with blood. Tyler stood, holding the blade before him. He told me to apply to this academy. He said if anyone would recognize the markings and understand what they meant, it would be the instructors here. Krelvan approached Tyler, his 4 eyes studying the human with new intensity. Samuel Webb was right. I recognize these markings because I was there. I fought beside the quiet ones without knowing what they were. And now you stand before me carrying not just his blade but his knowledge, his skills, his legacy. I carry the legacy of all the humans who fought in silence, Tyler said. Samuel was not unique. There are others. There have always been others. News of Tyler's demonstration spread through the academy like fire through dry grass. By the evening meal, every cadet knew about the human who carried a blade marked with galactic wars. Some dismissed it as exaggeration. Others were curious. A few were angry that a human might possess skills equal to their own warrior traditions. Tyler ate alone in the dining hall as he had expected. He chose a table near the back, away from the main clusters of students. The food was standard academy ration, designed to meet the nutritional needs of dozens of different species. It was bland but adequate. You embarrassed us today, a voice said above him. Tyler looked up to see 3 cadets standing around his table. The one who had spoken was Dravik, the same tall student who had laughed during the morning demonstration. His 2 companions were Karathi, their scales shifting to aggressive red patterns. I did not intend to embarrass anyone, Tyler said calmly. I only demonstrated what I was taught. You made it seem like human warriors are equal to ours, the Dravik continued. That is insulting. Everyone knows humans are weak. Your species has contributed nothing to galactic military history. Tyler set down his eating utensil. I am not looking for a fight. Good. Because you would lose. The Dravik leaned closer. I am called Thorvin. I have trained since I could walk. My family has produced warriors for 12 generations. I will not let some human pretend to be my equal. Before Tyler could respond, another voice cut through the tension. Step away from that table, Thorvin. Krelvan approached with another instructor, an elderly Ventari named Master Kyra. The 2 instructors positioned themselves between Tyler and the 3 hostile cadets. This human has done nothing wrong, Krelvan said. If you have grievances, you will address them properly. Thorvin straightened to his full height, towering over both instructors. Then I challenge him properly. Single combat. Tomorrow. Let everyone see whether human skills are real or just stories. Master Kyra's tentacle-like appendages swayed thoughtfully. You are the Academy's top-ranked student, Thorvin. You have not lost a single combat match in 2 years. This would be a grossly unbalanced challenge against a first-day student. If the human is as skilled as Instructor Krelvan claims, the match will be fair, Thorvin said. Unless you believe your own assessment was wrong? It was a clever trap. If the instructors refused the challenge, it would suggest they doubted Tyler's abilities. If they accepted, Tyler would face the Academy's most formidable student with only 1 day of enrollment. Tyler stood up. I accept the challenge. Krelvan's stock eyes swiveled toward him. You do not have to do this. Thorvin is trying to humiliate you. I know, Tyler said. But Samuel taught me that running from challenges only invites more challenges. If I am going to be here, I need to establish my position clearly. Master Kyra's appendages stopped swaying. Very well. Tomorrow at midday. The main arena. Standard Academy rules. First to yield or first incapacitation. She looked at Thorvin. And if you permanently injure this student, you will answer to me personally. The next morning, Tyler woke before dawn. He spent an hour in meditation as Samuel had taught him. Then he practiced his forms slowly, feeling the weight of the blade, remembering every lesson. Samuel's voice echoed in his memory, patient and precise, correcting his stance, adjusting his grip, explaining the philosophy behind each movement. By midday the main arena was packed. Word of the challenge had reached every corner of the academy. Cadets filled the viewing tiers, eager to see whether the human would be exposed as a fraud or if yesterday's demonstration had been genuine. Tyler entered the arena through the western gate. He wore simple training clothes and carried his blade. Across the arena floor, Thorvin entered through the eastern gate. The Dravik warrior wore ceremonial armor, polished until it gleamed. He carried a blade nearly twice as long as Tyler's, designed for someone with his impressive reach and strength. Master Kyra stood at the center of the arena. This is a challenge match under Academy rules. Combat continues until one fighter yields or is incapacitated. Lethal techniques are forbidden. Permanent maiming will result in immediate expulsion. She looked at both fighters. Do you both understand and accept these terms? I accept, Thorvin said confidently. I accept, Tyler replied. The two fighters moved to opposite sides of a large circle marked on the arena floor. Krelvan stood at the edge with other instructors, his forearms crossed, his expression unreadable. Begin, Master Kyra announced, stepping back from the circle. Thorvin did not rush forward as Tyler expected. Instead, the Dravik moved carefully, circling to his right, testing Tyler's reactions. This was a trained fighter, not a brawler. He would look for weaknesses before committing to an attack. Tyler mirrored his movement, maintaining distance, watching Thorvin's footwork. The Dravik favored his left leg slightly. An old injury perhaps, or simply natural preference. The first attack came suddenly. Thorvin lunged forward with impressive speed, his blade sweeping in a horizontal arc aimed at Tyler's midsection. Tyler stepped backward, letting the blade pass centimeters from his body. He did not counterattack. Not yet. Thorvin pressed forward with a combination of strikes. High, low, high again. Each blow powerful enough to shatter bone if it connected. Tyler defended using the Xian timing, waiting until the last possible moment to move, conserving energy, studying his opponent's patterns. The watching cadets began to murmur. They had expected the human to be overwhelmed immediately, but Tyler was holding his ground. Thorvin's attacks became more aggressive. He used his superior reach, keeping Tyler at a distance where the human's shorter blade could not effectively counter. It was smart strategy. Tyler recognized the technique from Dravik martial tradition, designed to dominate opponents with less reach. So Tyler stopped playing by Dravik rules. He dropped low beneath Thorvin's guard and swept his blade toward the Dravik's leading knee. Not to injure but to threaten. Thorvin had to step back to avoid the strike. In that moment of defensive reaction, Tyler closed the distance, getting inside Thorvin's reach where the long blade became a disadvantage. Now Tyler used Ventari techniques, moving in tight spirals around Thorvin's body, his blade creating constant threat from unexpected angles. Thorvin tried to create distance again, but Tyler stayed close, flowing around the larger fighter's attempts to push him away. The watching crowd's murmurs grew louder. This was not how fights against Thorvin usually went. The Dravik champion was being forced to adapt, to change his strategy. Thorvin switched tactics, using raw strength to force Tyler back. He grabbed at Tyler with his free hand, trying to use his superior size to grapple. Tyler let himself be caught, then used Karathi joint manipulation to slip free, simultaneously striking at pressure points Samuel had taught him existed on Dravik physiology. Thorvin's left arm went numb. He switched his blade to his right hand without hesitation, a sign of excellent training. But now he was fighting one-handed while Tyler remained fresh. The fight continued for another 20 minutes. Thorvin adapted to each technique Tyler used, proving why he was the Academy's top student. But every time the Dravik adjusted his strategy, Tyler shifted to a different combat tradition. Kethran footwork became the Xian blocking. Ventari spirals became Karathi precision strikes. Thorvin was fighting one opponent who moved like 12 different warriors. Finally, Tyler saw his opening. Thorvin committed to a powerful overhead strike, using his full strength. Tyler stepped forward instead of back, getting underneath the blow. He brought his blade up not to strike, but to lock against Thorvin's weapon. Then he used pure human technique, something Samuel had called leverage mechanics. Tyler twisted his whole body, using angles and momentum instead of strength, and sent Thorvin's blade spinning from his hand. The weapon clattered across the arena floor. Tyler's blade came to rest against Thorvin's throat, not touching but close enough that the threat was clear. The arena fell completely silent. Yield, Tyler said quietly. Thorvin stood frozen for a moment. His eyes moved from the blade at his throat to Tyler's face. Then slowly he raised both hands in the universal gesture of surrender. "I yield," Thorvin said loud enough for everyone to hear. Tyler immediately stepped back and lowered his blade. He extended his hand to Thorvin in the human gesture of respect after combat. The Dravik looked at the offered hand, then clasped it firmly. "You fight well," Thorvin said. "I underestimated you. That was my mistake." "You adapted quickly," Tyler replied. "In a longer fight, you might have found a counter to my strategy." "Perhaps." Thorvin released Tyler's hand. "But today the human warrior was better. I will remember this lesson." The arena erupted in noise. Some cadets cheered. Others argued loudly about what they had witnessed. The instructors gathered together, speaking in low voices while watching Tyler. Master Kyra approached the center of the arena, her appendages gesturing for silence. "Today we witnessed something significant. This human defeated our top student not through superior strength or speed, but through knowledge. He used techniques from multiple warrior traditions, adapting his approach constantly." She turned to address the instructors. "This demonstration raises important questions about our curriculum." Krelvan stepped forward into the arena. "For 300 years, this academy has taught combat traditions in isolation. The Xian students learn the Xian techniques. Dravik students learn Dravik methods. We have assumed that mastery comes from perfecting a single tradition." His 4 eyes swept across the watching cadets. "But this human has shown us something different. He has shown us what happens when someone learns from every tradition, when they understand not just their own warrior path, but the paths of others." Another instructor, a Kethran named Velshera, descended to the arena floor. "Are you suggesting we change how we teach combat? Our traditions have produced warriors for millennia." "I am suggesting we expand what we teach," Krelvan said. "Not to replace our traditions but to enhance them. What if our students understood how other species fight? What if they could adapt their techniques based on their opponent as this human did today?" Tyler stood quietly, his blade returned to its sheath. This conversation was beyond him now. These instructors would decide what his demonstration meant for the academy's future. Master Kyra's appendages swayed in thought. The council would need to approve any curriculum changes. "But what you propose has merit, Krelvan. We should at least discuss the possibility." 3 days later, Tyler was summoned to the academy's council chambers. The room was circular, with seats arranged in tiers so that council members could see each other while deliberating. 12 instructors sat in those seats, representing the major warrior species of the galaxy. Tyler stood in the center, feeling very small and very human. Master Kyra spoke first. "Tyler Grant, we have spent 3 days reviewing your demonstration and your challenge match with Thorvin. We have also investigated your claims about human participation in galactic conflicts. Our findings are remarkable." Krelvan stood holding a data tablet. "We discovered records of unusual combat reports from 17 different conflicts over the past 70 years. Small units of unidentified fighters appearing in critical battles. Victory achieved through unconventional tactics. In every case, the mysterious fighters disappeared after the conflict ended, refusing recognition or reward. We also found this," Velshera added, projecting an image above the council floor. It showed a group of fighters in unmarked armor, standing among Kethran warriors. The image was grainy, taken from battlefield recording equipment. But one of the fighters was clearly human. This was taken during the Sentinel conflicts. The Kethran commander's report mentions advisors who taught his troops new defensive techniques. But no names were recorded. Tyler studied the image. The human in the photo was young, perhaps 20 years old. He recognized the stance, the way the person held their blade. "That is Samuel Webb," he said quietly. During his second tour of service, the council chamber filled with murmuring voices. Finally, Master Kyra called for silence. "We have made a decision. The Valerian Combat Academy will establish a new combat discipline. We are calling it Terran Synthesis." Tyler's breath caught. Terran Synthesis? "A fighting style that combines techniques from multiple warrior traditions," Krelvan explained. "Exactly what you demonstrated. We want you to help develop this curriculum. You will work with instructors from each species to document how their techniques can be integrated with others." "But I am just a first-year student," Tyler said. "I have only been here 3 days." "You are also the only person currently at this academy who was trained in multi-tradition combat from childhood," Master Kyra said. "Your instructor Samuel Webb spent 40 years learning what you now carry in your skills and in that blade. We would be fools not to use that knowledge." Velshera stood. You will remain enrolled as a student, attending regular classes. But you will also serve as an assistant instructor for the new Terran synthesis program. You will teach what you know, and you will learn from our masters to expand your own skills. Tyler looked down at the blade hanging at his side. Samuel had told him to make the galaxy listen, to show them that humans had been there all along, fighting beside them, learning from them. This was more than Samuel had probably hoped for. I accept, Tyler said. But I have one condition. The council members exchanged glances. Master Kyra's appendages curled with curiosity. What condition? The program cannot be called Terran Synthesis, Tyler said. It should be called Quiet One Synthesis, named after the humans who served in silence for 70 years. They earned this recognition, not me. Krelvan's expression softened. An honorable request. The council will consider it. The vote was unanimous. The new combat discipline would be called Quiet One Synthesis, acknowledging the secret legacy of human warriors who had fought in galactic conflicts without seeking glory. 2 weeks later, Tyler stood before his first class. 15 students from 8 different species sat in the training hall, watching him with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. He was younger than most of them and he was human. But he was also the cadet who had defeated Thorvin. Tyler drew his blade and held it so the light caught the markings along its surface. This weapon tells a story, he began. Each mark represents a war, a battle, a lesson learned from warriors of different species. My instructor carried this blade for 40 years, learning from everyone he fought beside. He walked along the line of students. In this class you will not learn human techniques. You will learn how to recognize, understand, and integrate techniques from any warrior tradition you encounter. You will learn what my instructor taught me, that the strongest fighter is not the one who masters a single path, but the one who can walk many paths. Krelvan watched from the back of the hall, his 4 arms crossed in satisfaction. Beside him stood Master Kyra and 3 other senior instructors. He teaches well, Kyra observed. Samuel Webb chose his student wisely. Samuel Webb did more than that, Krelvan said. He gave the galaxy proof that humans have been among us all along, fighting our wars, honoring our traditions, asking for nothing in return. He looked at the blade in Tyler's hands, at the marks that represented 70 years of secret service. That blade is finally receiving the recognition it deserves. And so are the warriors who carried it before him. In the training hall, Tyler continued his first lesson, teaching students from across the galaxy how to think beyond their own traditions, how to adapt and learn, how to honor every warrior path they encountered. It was exactly what Samuel had trained him to do. The quiet ones were finally quiet no more.